distinguished participants. Can I hear your voices? Good morning. Fantastic. Well, today happens to be a very rainy Thursday morning, but it's lovely to see all of you very early and taken your places. Well, as you all know, we had a very successful inauguration yesterday of the National HR Conference 2018, and welcome to the technical sessions. And we're certainly very happy that we have eminent resource persons to give you some very meaningful presentations. So today is going to be a very fruitful day to all you participants. So I wish all of you a wonderful day of very meaningful presentations. Well, without further ado, I would like to invite the chairman of the technical committee of the NHRC 2018 to give us a brief description of this year's theme, Transformation of HR in the Digital World, and of course its relevance to HR discipline. It's my pleasure in inviting Mr. UAC Obesekara. Everybody put your hands together and give him a round of applause.
Very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. My task is to just take you through the technical structure of this conference, and I will try to put it in a nutshell without taking too much of time. The challenges for human resource function in the wake of digital transformation is immense. I think you got a dose of it last evening from the keynote speaker. Deloitte, in a recent research, has found that HR is significantly behind in adapting to new technology, even though there are tremendous opportunities in digitalization. Now, in this new era, we see the integration of digital technologies into everyday life by digitalization of everything around us. The new Apple Watch is an example of digitalization as its best in that its best in that technology has been introduced to an ordinary watch by providing phone capabilities, messaging and internet capabilities to the watch. Similarly, technology has taken hold of HR and introduced many technology-driven apps to digitalize HR and to increase its efficiency. Some examples are resume screening for employment, artificial intelligence, IoT, the Internet of Things, machine learning, HR analytics, intelligent self-service, mobile recruitment, virtual reality, wellness apps, social mobile, and cloud computing, and so on. So you will see that with all these changes, there is a huge disruption to the human resource function. And in this process of disruption, there is no alternative for HR than to embrace digitalization and digitalize the HR function in the organization. Now, three focal areas have arisen in digital technologies. The first being the new generation of employees, namely the millennials, with different qualifications, different attitudes, different behaviors, different expectations. So we have to manage this new breed of employees. And there are suggestions that with the baby boomers retiring in large numbers, that there is a need to integrate the millennials with the baby boomers and the Gen X and Y. So we call that a cross-generational theme by which through that integration, the new generation will come to learn how the old order stood and what needs to be done to go forward. Secondly, the digital work, which entails increasing automation of manual and routine work driven by brain and information work. And thirdly, digital employee management, which entails planning, implementation, and application of digital technologies to support and network the HR profession. So, in this scenario, what we have done is, we have created this theme which you see, transformation of HR in the digital world. And in doing so, we have enriched the conference with a technical structure which focuses on subjects like workplace happiness through digitalization, changing HR landscape, artificial intelligence in HRM, aligning and energizing people digitally, and transition of industrial and employee relations in the digital era. So, my dear friends, I am sure that with the talent that we have among the resource personnel whom we have selected, both locally and from overseas, you are in for a treat. And I hope that all of you will enjoy the conference, will integrate with what is happening, will interact with the speakers, clear your doubts, obtain clarifications where you want, and I am sure that this will be a great learning experience for all of us. So enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.
We've heard it all before. Good things come to those who wait. It's not the right time. You're too young. When's the right time? How about right now? The right time to chase new challenges. The right time to make new connections. The right time to open up my world. With Mobitel's superfast 4G internet, the right time is right now.
There's never a dull moment on Sundays for families who spend time with the Sunday Times, Sri Lanka's favorite English family weekly, with unbiased news, expert financial reviews, top-flight career openings, and informative entertaining features for all ages. Reserve your Sundays for the Sunday Times.
4 decades ago, a small security services company with 8 guards started with a simple vision: to be the premier service provider in loss prevention, secure logistics, and caring services in Sri Lanka. Today, we at Certis Lanka proudly claim that vision to have been accomplished with a strength of over 5 companies, 15 branches, and 9,000 employees, along with our tried and tested 3M principle of man, machine, and method. Sotis Lanka represents an integrated ecosystem of group of companies that focuses on organic growth. We are proud to be ISO accredited for energy, environment, and quality management, and we are recognized both locally and internationally for our standards of excellence. Sotis Lanka Group, securing your world.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready with the very first presentation on workplace happiness through digitalization. And it's my pleasure to invite a personality who is a corporate officer, corporate chief scientist at Hitachi Limited. He pioneered the measurement and analysis of social big data. The wearable sensor for this purpose has been introduced in a Harvard Business Review and has succeeded in quantifying the happiness of people from unconscious physical motion, which has been used in more than 30 companies. Recent work is the development of multi-purpose artificial intelligence, which has been applied to over 60 real business cases, and he has applied over 350 patents. His book, The New Invisible Hand, is cited as one of the top 10 business books in Japan in 2014, and he's a winner of many prestigious awards. Without further ado, I have the pleasure of inviting Dr. Kazuo Yano.
It's my great pleasure to have this opportunity to talk at this great conference. I came from Japan, and I've been working for Hitachi 34 years. And I will talk about, by using this opportunity, on AI, happiness, and productivity and creativity. You might think that happiness and AI very separated, different thing, but it's very interdependent. That's what I talk today. And the discussion, the AI has been a buzzword in the last 3 years. And many of you have seen the demo yesterday, presentation and the keynote speech. And many Hollywood movies have described a very imaginary image of the AI. And yesterday's demo also shows some of non-real image of AI. It's real, but it is illusion. They are hiding many human efforts behind the scenes. So real AI is very, very different from what has been described by Hollywood movie like Terminators or Space Odyssey 2001. And that's I will talk today. And now also, more important thing is why we need AI. And this question has strong relationship with workplace happiness. But before that, I'd like to talk about where are we now? I'm invited by UAE government already twice this year for speech on happiness and AI and big data. On the same stage, Kevin Kelly, he's very famous, first editor of the magazine called Wired, the technology magazine, and he talked about where are we now? Now we are in the best time ever in human history to start something new. That's what he talked about. That means now is better time than when Bill Gates started Microsoft in 1975, or Jeff Bezos started Amazon 1995. Better. Why? Because of AI and data, we will have a tremendous change. Nobody can deny. But for now, nobody knows what happens in real business and how we make money, or what kind of societal change we will face in the next 10 or 20 years. Nobody knows. So everybody has a chance to be the next Bill Gates or next Jeff Bezos. That's why we are in the age of best time ever in human history. I'd like to start by why we need AI. In 100 years, starting from Frederick Taylor, who is famous for studying scientific management of work, it is based on standardization of work and lateral deployment of the same standardized work to different places, different work, or different people. You see a lot of chain restaurant, chain store, that kind of standardized repetition all over the world. That was very good and effective for making you repeated thing many times. Massive, same thing. But anybody in this room or anybody in the world requires different thing. Everybody, individual, has its dream, hope, his or her strength. Everybody is different. And the environment is changing rapidly, so this diversified and changing needs cannot be met by the standardization or lateral deployment. So we need something new. We need to seriously face this change and diversity. Before we do anything, we don't know this diversified and changing world. So we need to experiment and learn from them. But in real business, we have a contract, customer, and responsibility. So our opportunity to do experiment and learn is limited. That's why we need to do our experiment mostly on a computer by using past data to make our real experiment more probable and more successful. But we need to do something. So we need to replace standardization and lateral deployment by experiment and learn. And that's platform to do real experiment by using computers and past data. That experimental site is real AI, not a Terminator, not a yesterday's demo. Why? This is quite relevant for the principle how AI works. 2 years ago, ordinary people, have recognized the impact of AI when computer program called AlphaGo won against human champion in complex Go game. Another important progress was, imagine that you have 20 photographs. One of them include your spouse or child photograph. You can easily find one that includes your spouse or children. But can you explain why you think this is the photo of your spouse? Can you explain? Very difficult or impossible. That's why conventionally computer was not good at to recognize the picture, who are in that picture. But humankind have achieved how to achieve that. That's the key is the data. If you have a massive data as well as supervised data, label whether the result is correct or not. You can do this kind of thing. For example, you can make a prediction formula. It's not very difficult. It's combination of sum and products and coefficients. Coefficient, because we don't know exact logic of winning goal or finding your spouse in a picture, we put random numbers in a coefficient, so the prediction of that formula is completely random and no, correct prediction. But if you have a results data, supervised data of the results of whether this photo includes your spouse or not, or whether this move of the stone on the Go game will lead to winning or losing, that's result. If you have a result, you can calculate with that random formula the accuracy quantitatively. If you have 1,000 parameters, coefficients, one of them might be increased a little bit. That will make the accuracy better or worse. That also can be calculated. With computer power, you can do this repetition of refinement, adjustment of the parameters many times. Boom, you can get a correct prediction of very complex thing like Go game or predicting whether your spouse is in the picture. So this mechanism agrees very well with the experimental learning process we need to do in real business. But the most important thing is we need to define the purpose. Quantified purpose is called outcome. Defined outcome, we set this experimental learning engine to the existing system, and we get learning and experiment continuously, and that has been demonstrated by this demo, which is to visualize this experiment and learning process, what we need to do. This is not machine. This is our method to make it more flexible and adjust to the situations. Here, at the upper cable, at the other side of the cable, we attached that experimental learning process engine, and it is instructed to maximize the amplitude of the swinging. Too big, too big, sound too big. Too big. Okay, sound too big. Okay, so at first, there's no prior knowledge of this swinging, so only thing you can do is to move randomly. But as you change the knee motion, the amplitude gets a little bit larger or smaller. That is continuously learned. And just 1 minute or so, the amplitude gets a little bit larger than the initial stage, but still it doesn't seem to be skillful. But this endless pursuit of the outcome and experiment and learn provides us to better amplitude, more and more. You are tempted to feel that you feel some sympathy on this, robots, just like you are looking at your child first try to swing in the park. And as you see, the amplitude gets larger and larger with very simple mechanism, as I explained. And as you see, bending knee here and stretching knee here, that's exactly what we do when we ride a swing. But the important thing is, do not stop here. When we get some skill, you stop learning and experiment. But after 1 minute, more experiment and learning, the amplitude gets yet larger. What happened? Actually, bending knee here and here twice in a cycle that we do not do. So, bending knee here provides us the sense of fear, so that we do not do. And especially when we get some skill, you stop experimenting and learning. Exactly the same thing has happened in the Go game. 2 years ago, when AlphaGo won against human champion, what was surprising was the AlphaGo put the stone in the center of the stage in a very early stage. That has been said that we should not do when we have skill. So, 1,000 years of history of Go game, we stop experiment to put on a stone in the center of the board in early stage. Skillful people start put stone on a peripheral to the board and stop experimenting. So this experimental learning mechanism allows us to learn what we have already stopped. And this mechanism is very effective when we need to change our job. Here, swinging it is required to do horizontal bar. Constraint and task is completely different, but don't say, I was good at swinging, not horizontal bar. I should do swinging, not horizontal bar. No. Just do experiment and learn. Just after 2 or 3 minutes, the amplitude gets larger and larger. And gets more skillful. And the motion is completely different when it do the swinging. This impact of this experimental learning is exemplified when we adjust many things. Everything is changing. Here we enlarge the degree of freedom of the leg so that it has more freedom, but without any change in software. It learns, experiment, and see what happens. So, we should not stop learning. Get promoted, skillful, promoted, get your subordinate. That's the trap. You attempted to stop, experiment, and learn because it is, making failure is embarrassing for you. We need to continue. We have a, endless potential to do. I don't talk about technology, but our technology is a little bit special than the state-of-the-art deep learning. We combined combination of various factors and adjusting of the parameters that we have inspired by genetic principle as well as neural learning. This mechanism has already been applied to a variety of real work. For example, in warehouse, where they get orders from retail store and to put items from the shelves and put it in a box and ship into the truck. And thousands of orders by hundreds of employees every day. All shipping data, ID data, barcode read data are recorded in warehouse management system. We attach that straight, continuous experimental learning system to the system and to define total work hour, that productivity, as an outcome. And every day, this workplace is learning. In midnight, the system gets recent data from our records, and the engine will figure out what kind of conditions is needed to make it more efficient. And in the morning, thousands of orders are coming from their customers, and which orders should be placed first. That scheduling is automatically placed by the AI, by the pick list, the instruction for the workers. And workers, they do their work and figure out what is more effective or maybe more efficient. And that trial error result will be data. And next morning, that will be learned by our engine and to provide better scheduling. And in that way, human people and this experiment learning engine work together to make this workplace robust to the changes and better productivity. Another next example is in retail store. Purchasing system, POS system, we attached experimental learning system, and to define the sales per customer as an outcome. And massive data are provided to this system as well as human expert in this retail domain. Human expert interviewed with the store managers and executives and look at the store and figure out, based on their experience, this product, item, should be placed in a more visible place and something like that. And AI, this experimental learning process engine, provide us a very weird answer. One of employee should stay longer in one spot in a store. And actually, we did both of them separately, and human intervention provided no results. This learning engine result 15% sales increase. And whether the employee is the red spot or not changes the sales dramatically, as well as the behavior of the customers and frequency of the interaction between customer and employee. And 15% improvement corresponds to doubling the operating profit. And this process mechanism is very effective for you to save energy. In railway, we define this, we attached this system to the railway system, and actually, in a same route, sometimes driver of the train choose one command called notch off, more or less, and that actually has tremendous impact on the power of the electricity cost, and 14% power saving has been achieved by this discovery. The similar discovery of the power saving in water plant, this is the water desalination plant. It costs a lot of the pump power to push water to the membrane, and actually a lot of data and AI provides us better 6% saving in electric cost. Providing financial opportunity to people who really need it is very important. But conventionally, banks have been preventing risk by setting some rules, something like, provide loan only for somebody who has guarantees, or should not provide loan for a single mother. But is it really so? Whether a person is single mother or not, one bit of information, this person is not allowed to get a loan. We have much more degree of freedom, and if we utilize that kind of data, we can provide more opportunity. And actually, with our technology, 43% better accuracy of the default of the loan is possible. That means we can provide more to the more people such a financial opportunity. And here we provide delivery of the package of the e-commerce very on time, called happy on time, by the same mechanism, and also as well as marketing. And already this mechanism of experimental learning process has already been applied to 60 real business cases in very multi-purpose way. But this is not, general, this is kind of a multi-purpose, but not universal. There is a condition we need to apply this type of experimental learning process, we need 3 types of data. Outcome data, that is the objective, and action data that can be controlled and observed, condition data, which can be observed but cannot directly controlled. If we have 3 kinds of data, outcome, action, condition, based on the condition, we can optimize our action to maximize the outcome without knowing the detailed logic behind. That's the beauty of this experimental learning system. And sometimes it is, the AI has been quoted something to replace labor. But I don't think this is a correct statement. I think it's misleading. Yes, AI replaces something. What AI replaces is the rule. The rule which prevents providing loan to a single mother. That kind of fixed rule we have relied on to prevent risk. If you have a data, we can be much more flexible. And I was surprised to see the traffic in this country, because in Tokyo, everything is governed by fixed rules, very detailed rules. But here, without any signal, everybody is negotiating very flexibly. That's the future of the traffic. That's I seriously believe in. If you have autonomous driving, that's the future. And so in that way, we can be flexible without very fixed rule. You can be flexible, and depending on the situations, we can change the decision. And in this new era, which I call outcome-oriented era, to set the goal, but the actions should be flexibly changed based on the conditions. So in this era, we need to key on what is the outcome of your work. Usually, outcome is sometimes a means for the upper outcome. And upper outcome has upper outcome as a means for upper purpose. The uppermost purpose of the society, everybody knows the world. That is the happiness of people. And for happiness, there's a very pioneering work by UAE. I was invited, as I said, to have a talk on this World Government Summit and Happy City World Conference. And actually, this UAE has declared the mission of the government is to make citizens happier. And 2 years ago, they established a Ministry of Happiness. And the Ministry of Happiness has a very tremendous power because it assesses every legislation by any other ministry, whether that legislation is good for citizens' happiness or not. I think this is much better than just a smart city or smart nation or smart government that only says that we utilize new technology. This starts from purpose. And I think this initiative will spread worldwide. And actually, I've been working for Hitachi in the last 34 years. And first 20 years, I've been working in semiconductor business R&D. And I really enjoyed working in that region, our domain. But unfortunately, 14 years ago, Hitachi decided to quit the semiconductor business. That's why I need to change the domain, which I loved and have experience and expertise and have community and connection network. And we discussed a lot with my colleagues who have the same situation, what we should do next. And we reached a ray of hope. That is, already we know that computers will make progress, but the data might be more important than the hardware itself. That's what we have had a hope. Actually, it was quite good after we look at several years after that. And also, we thought about if the data is important, the human data, people's data, is the most important thing in that era, that we have reached the conclusion. So we started collecting human behavior data starting from year 2006 by using these wearable sensor, wristband, badge-shaped, and so on. And I became the first test subject. I put the wearable sensor here, March 16th, year 2006, and since then, more than 12 years of my life, wrist motion has been recorded in a computer. This is year 2009, me. Red shows active motion, blue shows still silent, and as you can see, in the nighttime, I'm sleeping, so you see a blue belt. In March to May, my life gets a little bit irregular. And you see in February, very irregular pattern, working in nighttime and sleeping in nighttime. I was traveling upload like this. And that shift corresponds to West Coast of the US. And this day, in November, I'm working until 4 o'clock in the morning, whole day long. Very active. What was the day? That was the day I moved in to my new house. I was overwhelmed by the massive boxes. I struggled to push those things whole day long. These are the last 9 years of my life. I can talk many things, but the time is limited. And just one thing. This April and April previous year, the pattern is quite different. As you can see, just after waking up, there's a very tremendous active movement and waking up earlier and earlier every day. What do you think it is? I start keeping dogs. I need to, walking with dog every morning after that. And these are 4 people's 1 year of life pattern. As you can see, every person has a different life pattern. As you look at person B, the person B is waking up 5 o'clock in the morning, sharp, in the razor cut pattern. If you look at person C, the person is changing very flexible life pattern. But if you look at carefully, you can see 3 red lines vertically. Commuting, lunchtime, commuting back to home is much more regular than any other people. If you look at person D, there is this red commuting pattern here. But if you look carefully, there is a vertical line, 2 lines here. What do you think it is? I suppose the person is changing twice every day. So the data itself is just a debris. But if you combine them and look at the pattern, it has much higher meaning. And we collected this kind of behavior data 12 years ago and start to recognize this might have the information of your motivation, productivity, or even happiness. We have collected more than 10,000 people, more than 1 million days of millisecond level resolution data since then. But happiness is a very, soft and multi-meaning concept and should depends on individual or culture or era. So is it possible to quantify it? As a matter of fact, yes. Of course, there are a lot of meanings, but when people get happy, the state they experience is quite universal. Unhappy people get depressed, unfocused on what you're doing, and pessimistic view on others' help, and even good food don't eat delicious or don't sleep well. Happy people have a bright feeling and focused on what you do, and optimistic view on their surrounding health, and eat delicious and sleep well. This should not be changed in Sri Lanka and Japan or ancient Greek to New York. And this, of course, how to reach right-hand side should depends on individual or era or culture. But this state of happiness is unconsciously represented in your physical motion. We have asked to answer these 20 questionnaires, 468 people. How many days did you experience happiness, loneliness, sadness, enjoyment, and so on in the past week? And answering from 0 to 3. Happiest people to answer 3 times 20, that's 60 at maximum. That number, averaged in a working team, shows the team is happy or depressed or that kind of information. That is the vertical axis of this graph. All those people wear our badge shape sensor on the chest. That includes embed accelerometer, motion sensor, physical motion. And one feature of a physical motion of the chest, shown on the horizontal axis, shows very horizontal, straight line with the happiness of people. Correlation as high as 0.94 shows without any survey data, with only sensor, we can quantify your happiness. But that does not mean that you move more, you're happy. Even though you are sitting here, you're not stopping. You're constantly moving, stopping, moving, stopping, moving, stopping, completely unconsciously. That signal has a very unconscious and honest signal whether you are happy or not. That's our discovery. And actually, start moving and stop, that duration, for happy people, the duration is diversified and mixed and variability. Unhappy people, unconsciously, that duration from start moving and stop moving, that duration gets uniformed. And by using this signal, we can quantify your happiness. And just like we can quantify your height or weight and so on. I don't want to start a new religion. Actually, it is very relevant for business because happy people are very consistently more productive. For example, in call center case, the employees wear these headsets and place phone call to potential customers to sell some, services. And how many orders they get per hour is the evaluation number. But the productivity has strong correlation with their employees' happiness. Happy days, they sell more. Unhappy days, they'll sell less. And we have lots of experiments, whether the happiness, actually, because they are happy, they sell more. Not because they sell more, they are happy. And very tiny thing like, chatting during break time among colleagues has a tremendous impact on this happiness of those people. And similar thing is consistently observed in stores or development project. Why happiness matters? There is a paper which uses app on your smartphone. 228,000 people downloaded the application for 1 week. How many, provide some very short question, like, what is your mood? What do you do right now? Those kind of things. When they answered unhappy, several hours from now, they do more reflection activities, walking and exercise and so on. When they answered happy, good mood, what do you think they do after that? Hours? They do difficult and cumbersome thing and important thing. Usually important thing requires some challenging and crafting thing. Maybe future or whether the task is completed is quite uncertain. So we need resource, psychological resource, to challenge on those uncertain things. That is the happiness. Happiness is our goal as well as our resource to challenge to the unforeseeable future. So it is quite reasonable and natural. Happy people are more productive. And we use that quantified happiness as an outcome of the AI. And what kind of communication is effective for you to be happier and more productive? And we developed this kind of system, badge-shaped sensor, and collect data from that. And by analyzing by AI those kind of behavior data, what kind of communication use of time is effective for you to be happier and more productive. And in a call center case, we developed this app called Dashboard for the supervisor, whom you talk today in priority to support. And the data shows it has a tremendous impact on their happiness. It's very strange, but evidence clearly shows whom supervisor talk to in priority has a very tremendous impact on the mood on the workplace. And there were 2 centers doing exactly the same work, same performance. And one of them used this application for total 1 year. And 1 year average performance of that center exceeds over the other one by 27%. That's a huge number. And this type of system has already been utilized in more than 30 companies. And we are going ahead. We have already also developed this kind of application on your smartphone to provide every day in the morning, provide you some advice for you to be happier and more productive. And actually, our company, 600 sales employees from 26 division utilized that application. And we also found the team who utilized that application more get happier next month. The team who gets happier get more orders next quarter by 27%. Exactly the same number which we found in call center. So anybody can have better, maybe around 30% better performance with very tiny intervention. We have more potential. And this year we had an Olympic. But what's amazing is sports records keep updated. Why? I believe this is because we have a very definite, clearly defined outcome. And freedom. Of course, we have a rule, but within rule, we have a complete freedom in approach to make the records better and better. If we utilize this mechanism for making workplace happier and better place to work, I think that's what we have done in the last one year. And we are trying to make World Cup of happiness of workplace to enjoy discovering your own way of happiness, making workplace happiness. But to deliver the special sensor in the worldwide costs a lot. But fortunately, your smartphone already has an accelerometer inside. So just downloading the app and put your smartphone on your pocket or somewhere on the body, we can quantify your happiness. And actually, in last February, we have arranged Japan Cup of the workplace happiness. More than 1,400 people from 62 companies joined this Japan Cup of workplace happiness, and we have compete each other their happiness, and they secretly made their intervention strategy to make their happiness, workplace better and better. And actually, we praised how happy they are, finally. So I believe in this way, every mechanism of the workplace, society, nation, city can be controlled by the happiness of people. And I think that is relevant for the productivity and economy. Interesting question is, I have this kind of opportunity to talk about happiness and AI in variety of board meeting of big companies. And after I make presentation on this type of board meeting of our big company in Japan, one of the executives asked me, your technology looks great, but everybody use that technology. Will our company profit from it? I think, but that is a very essential question and relevant, because conventional software or system, conventional computer technology, when the same system is deployed in one company to another, the operation, the function is completely the same. So no differentiation. But AI, depending on the data, the dynamic functioning and mechanism is completely different based on the data. So it will diversify based on your strengths and your context. And just like the species on the earth have evolved in a very diverse way, as Charles Darwin said, the evolution is not the progress. It's the way it makes diversified species. And I believe in the last 100 years, we have standardized everything. Make rules, make process, and obey the same process. Although we have a very diversity in everybody is different. By utilizing this outcome-oriented, data-oriented mechanism, we are ushering in a new era where diversified people will blossom at the place where you are, based on your strengths, based on the culture, based on your history. This is the very, entering a new era. So this will create massive new industry, which I call Happiness X. Happiness, mobility, transportation, happiness building, happiness city, happiness finance, happiness real estate, all are outcome driven, and every decision they make needs to be aligned with happiness, and it is productive and more creative than conventional counterpart. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your very effective presentation. I think we have questions from, it has come via Slido, and you can also pose questions if you do have any questions. There's a question, Doctor, there's a question for you. Yes?
I think that means that, actually, AI team and happiness team is completely integrated. Something is interesting is AI is a software written in computer programming language. But one big difference, it can be seen very concretely. It is very small. Only thousands lines of code, 1,000 lines of code is needed to the state-of-the-art AI. 1,000 lines of code means it requires only 1 week for me to write total code. That's very different from conventional software, which needs to be written based on every condition, action, condition, action, condition, action. Every mechanism needs to be written by hand, by human. But AI, those relationship, depending on condition, is in a data. We don't have to write, but we have to write upper layer of logic to how to utilize the data. So the size of the code is much smaller, and actually the state-of-the-art Hitachi's AI has been written by myself. I can write. So even this year, I have written more than 50 versions of the AI. So just like a sport professional, what I write is different from what university student write in a week. Maybe he can write 1,000 lines of code in a week. But just like, Japanese professional player Ichiro, the swing is quite different from, amateur professional player. 1,000 lines of code, which I write, is very different from amateur code. So it is highly praised. So it's a programming language, but it's very different. And I never separate AI with happiness. Totally integrated with me.
Just raise your hands if there are questions from the audience. I think they're thoroughly convinced, Doctor. Thank you very much. Everybody, put your hands together.
Thank you.
Doctor, we'd like you to stay on because we have a presentation to be made. Can I please invite Dr. Neil Bogahalanda, Council Member of IPM Sri Lanka, and Mr. Saman Javikrama, Assistant Treasurer of IPM Sri Lanka, on stage to give away a token of appreciation to Dr. Kazuo Yano. Thank you, Doctor, once again for your presentation. Thank you.
We are live across Sri Lanka.
This is your primetime news at 9.
Walking through the Colombo Open Air Art Gallery.
This is the first time Sri Lanka is privileged to
Mark the International Workers' Day.
JVP May rally started off from, as you can see behind me, the new runaway of the Katunaga.
Are you talking about an attitudinal change?
Do you think that it undermines?
With more people on the ground and more resources across the country, we're everywhere you need us to be. This is Adadarana in English, every day at 9 p.m. on Adadarana 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to a panel discussion, the future of HR in the world of digitization. And can I now invite our panelists to take their seats? Let me first invite a personality who's a veteran who has served the industry for the past 30 years. Presently, he is the head of corporate affairs and PR, people management, administration, and government business relationship functions at India Power Corporation Limited, a renowned power utility operator from West Bengal, India, in the capacity of president. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Somesh Dasgupta, National President, National Institute of Personnel Management, India. Our second panelist is a connector and passionate individual who thrives on building communities and impacting lives. He designs interventions to guide people into profound self-discovery, realizing sense of purpose and connection. He builds communities around the principles of vulnerability, intent to serve, and authenticity. He is the founding CEO of Ascend Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Vice President of Pakistan Society of HR Management, Pakistan, Mr. Kanwar A. Saeed. I now have the pleasure of inviting an award-winning, renowned HR professional and speaker who is the recipient of numerous national and international awards, including the Lifetime HR Achievement Award 2013 from BSHRM, Lifetime Achievement Award 2017 from the World HRD Congress, and Global HR Leader Award 2017 from the Malaysian Institute of Human Resources Management. He is the founder, President, Federation of Bangladesh Human Resource Organizations, President, Bangladesh Society for Human Resource Management, Bangladesh, and immediate past President, Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Musharraf Hussain. I also would like to welcome now on stage a personality who has had extensive experience in human resource management, having spent over 30 years in various functions of human resource in both national and multinational companies. He is a legal consultant on employment law and has completed numerous courses and training in all areas of human resources, both local and foreign, including the Human Resource Management Program conducted by Cornell University, United States of America, and University of Singapore. He is a regular speaker at public and in-house forums and has conducted numerous lectures, seminars, and workshops. Please welcome the President of the Malaysian Institute of Human Resource Management, Mr. Aris Andiran. Well, our next personality is someone we all know who hardly needs any introduction, a dynamic personality, our very own Professor in Management. He is the Director and the Chairman of the Board of Management of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. He is the Honorary President of the Institute of Personnel Management, IPM Sri Lanka. He was recently appointed as a Vice President of the Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management. He also serves as an adjunct professor at the Price College of Business, University of Oklahoma, United States of America. He has over 25 years of both private and public sector experience, including Unilever and Nestle, and he has engaged in consultancies in over 15 countries in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. He is a Commonwealth AMDISA Doctoral Fellow, Fulbright Postdoctoral Fellow, and Commonwealth Postdoctoral Fellow. Ladies and gentlemen, he likes to identify himself as one who transitioned from being an engineer of electrical to an engineer of hearts and minds. Please welcome Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri. Let me also make a correction that Mr. Musharraf Hussain is the president. Am I right? Yes. Everybody put your hands together and give him a round of applause. And let me also welcome on stage the moderator, who is currently serving as a management consultant specializing in human resource management and organizational development. He possesses a wide range of experience in the HR discipline as leading corporate entities in Sri Lanka, having held the position of Deputy General Manager, Human Resource Management of Commercial Bank. And prior to his retirement and consequent to his retirement, he functioned as a HR consultant to the Bank of Ceylon and consultant head of HR at Sampanth Bank PLC. Please welcome our moderator, Mr. Jayantha Jayaratna.
It's my privilege to be a moderator for this session. Firstly, let me commend the Institute of Personnel Management Sri Lanka for selecting an appropriate theme, transformation of HR in the digital world. This session will focus on the future of HR in the world of digitalization. Digital technologies are radically changing our lives, our workplaces, and our communities. It is reshaping the world of work and in the process dramatically changing the way we manage, perform, and interact within organizations. It's a mega change. In 1995, when technology guru Nicholas Negroponte said everything that can be digitalized will be digitalized, he may not have grasped when he said that the cascading impact on digitalization would have on humanity. The epicenter or the nucleus of this mega change is the human resource or the people factor. Simply because it is the human resource that activates other resources. The time has come for the HR specialists, our challenge to seek and change, adapt the digital concept, platforms, technologies, and management style. There is an urgent need to reorient HR community by enlightening them on the change in landscape that is influenced by the digitalization. We have for this session the five panelists from the SAARC countries, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Malaysia, and our own Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri, the president of our institute. The objective of this session is to provide an opportunity for Asia-Pacific leaders will share and elucidate their understanding and experiences of this important process with the participants in the context of their organization and the country. This is basically providing an insight into where these countries in regard to digitalization, where it is now and where it is going towards, where it's now and where it would ultimately the roadmap of the respective country. It will provide you a practical understanding of what's happening in the countries. In order to focus on the subject, we have requested the panelists to focus attention on three dimensions. One is the national policy framework on digitalization. We can talk about digitalization, but the country must have a national framework. Without a national framework, whatever the organization, business, corporates will not be able to achieve what they have to achieve. Secondly, what changes are made or envisaged in the key result areas of HR function to meet the current and emerging demands and challenges of the digitalization process. Now, HR function itself need to change, need to amend with the influence of digitalization. Otherwise, it will not be able to serve the particular organization. Finally, role of the HR function, this is linked to the second question, the role of HR function in facilitating digitalization process in organization. So it will be very practically providing to you the situation in the respective countries. Firstly, let me invite each panelist will have 5 minutes, and I would suggest that the panelists focusing on key result areas such as employee resourcing, performance management, reward management, learning and development, and relationship. It will not be able to cover the entire thing. At least take examples, specific examples from these areas where it will be able to, the participants will be able to understand what's happening in the workplace. Each panelist will get 5 minutes each and will provide the audience 10 minutes to ask questions. So let me invite first Mr. Somesh Das Gupta, President of the National Institute of Personnel Management, India, to respond to the questions which has been circulated to you.
Thank you. Good morning. On behalf of NIPM India, at the outset I convey my best wishes to the council member of IPM and the president of IPM to organize such a wonderful conference. And each and every year you are going from strength to strength. And the regional talk which lasts 4 or 5 years in each country you are organizing to know about the other country's perspective and their action plan, it is really a bondage towards the unity of the PHRM body. Thanks, President and his team. I'm very happy that the moderator asked three particular questions which will cover the national policy and also the preparedness of the respective country to implement that policy. You might be knowing that India is a very big country. We are calling it Incredible India. There are many countries inside India. To manage everything in one table and one decision policy is a big thing, because in spite of a lot of inequality, lot of variables, India government has announced the Digital India, which is going very strong. In last 4 or 5 years, government is very clear in its own policy. The name of the Digital India policy called the Niti Aayog, which is being promoted by the present government, and the particular government has increased double the allocation to the Digital India Fund, which is today around 30 billion Indian rupee, to implement 2-3 areas like in research and upskilling in robotics, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. These are 3 major things where government is spending its money across India to make the India Digital India, because India is projected across the globe, one of the service hub in the world. We are exporting people outside, exporting technology outside. So it's a high time for India to do something for the Digital India. So there are 12 projects government has already declared, and it is going very strong. And these 12 projects are basically under Digital India, that are DG Locker, then My Government e-Sign Framework, Swachh Bharat Mission mobile app, National Scholarship Portal, e-Hospital, Digitized India Platform, BharatNet, Wi-Fi Hotspot, Next Generation Network, Electronics Development and Fund, Center for Excellence on Internet of Things. All these particular initiatives of Government of India are now in the process of implementation across East, West, North, South, Central of India. So that is the overall thing, and the HRD Ministry of India is directly working with the corporate sector that this type of government policy should not be restricted in the area of the government implementation. The private sector also and the corporate also should take the advantage of the Niti Yog. So the Niti Yog is a platform where the governments are interacting, corporates interacting, and Indian corporate sectors are in a process of implementing all the packages under Niti Yoga. The second part of my presentation, which I'm telling about that how this Niti Yoga or the requirement of digital India can be happen in our corporate life in India. Might be knowing that we have a huge number of millenniums in India. Average age is around 35, around 30s. So for the purpose, the corporate has a big role now, and the HR managers, we are projecting HR managers, business managers, because it's seen in India, like Sri Lanka, that unless HR is a pioneer to move business, there's no role of HR department. So the HR departments, whether they are part of the IT Digital India, digital role or IT role, first of all, their main role is the line function, not the service function. As a result, I am just giving you a small known model to you, the Dave Ulrich model. There is a strategic partner, change agent, administrative expert, and employee champion. If really the HR body or HR corporate of India wants to implement the concept of the digital age in the Indian corporate sector, they should go by this model very casually. Number one, the strategic partner. Though the role of HR department should be the strategic partner, so that the shift towards digital by aligning the organizational business strategies with the upcoming digital environment. It is very important. The digital environment being created by the IT wing, but how the business strategy can be converted to that. So that strategic partnership initiative from HR department is very important. Change agent, which is very important. You might be all in Sri Lanka, the people mindset for receiving training has gone. So there's different types of new concept. People are comfortable for now the e-learning platform. So the community-based e-learning platform through which employee can reach each other across geographical regions anytime, anywhere, and collaborate and learn based common learning objectives and interest. For the purpose, in India, we are designing our entire training module to all the corporates, either in the social media base or in the webland base, so that across in India, it's a big country, any branches, any location, people can contribute. And the change agent role is very important for HR to transform digital thing in the organization. Secondly, administrative expert, we have to play the role of that, because people are investing money, huge amount of money for this IT tools. It is very important whether the money has a problem, money has a meaning, ROI to be achieved in each and every processes. HR should be accountable whether this particular investment in terms of the IT is important. In India, we are very conscious for that. Third part is the employee champion is the last one, which is very important because there are some of the area which may not be covered by the digital age, like the counseling, mentoring, monitoring. This type of thing will be there along with the digital age. So the preparedness about the mindset of the human resource in India are responsible for the HR function. HR department should create an environment that there are five category of employees who are working in an organization. There's a space for everybody. A space for Millennium, Gen X, Gen Y, baby boomers, everybody. They should be counseled properly. There should not be an insecurity. Huge amount of insecurity is also happening in India because there's unemployment issue. People are thinking that this digital age I lose my job. I have no role for future. But HR department to create an atmosphere, create an environment, and counsel properly so that the strategic part should be more and more important. People should understand that the digital age are only to help us, not to destroy us. So this type of environment we are creating in India, along with the government initiative. I'm very optimistic that the Southeast Asia, other country also doing same thing. Because yesterday, somebody is telling that 1/5 of the world populations are in this South Asia, and they're all richly resourced people. They're very strong in right side and left side of the brain. So in India also, we have a high hope to do something meaningful and make the India truly digital India. Thank you.
Contribution. Now I would invite Mr. Kanwar Seed, the President Pakistan Society of Human Resource Management. I would request to confine your response to 5 minutes. The time is available over there, so you can monitor yourself.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Before I start, let me acknowledge that this is the most disciplined participants I've ever seen any conference in the world. So well done and congratulations to you. So I will right away get into the core of what's happening in Pakistan. And then I'll talk about the macro political and economic situation in Pakistan. Pakistan is going through a tectonic shift. We have effectively defeated terrorism. The extremism remains an issue, but the terrorism has been defeated. We are growing, and then the trajectory of growth is now going up. We are among the 10th most emerging markets. There have been the Pak-China investment, which is bringing in 44 billion. There are some questions, but it's going to bring huge investment in the infrastructure. And from being an energy deficient, we are moving up to becoming energy sufficient, and rather we'll have extra energy within a year's time. So that's the macroeconomic situation in which the digitalization is happening. If you look at it, our export from the digital side or IT is $2 billion, which is expected to be double in 2 years' time. And when we look at our booming, absolutely booming e-commerce, from a $300 million at this point in time is going to be $1 billion in 2 years' time. And that kind of change is happening. And when we look at Internet of Banking, which started late because of very strong state bank conditions, the total change is about 32% growth in just last 1 year. And then we expect a huge transition in banking towards the digitalization. So what's happening and why this change is happening? So effectively, there are 3 factors. Number one, when we look at the telecom boom, 70% of our population, which is almost 130 million, has an access to mobile sets and phone. And out of them, almost 25% of them have either 3G or 4G. And imagine the active social media accounts are almost, I was looking at the numbers, and there are 13% of that is 25 million. So that is one of the things which has set a base, which is probably unintended outcome, that now this base has created an opportunity for the e-commerce, for the IT industry to boom. Second, the government, I think whether it's this government or a previous government, there is a focus, and everybody believes that we need to invest in information technology. And in 2017, a IT policy was launched, which is a very, very holistic. So there are 14 IT, there are technology parks have propped up, and with 1 million square footage of space. And there are almost 20,000 IT companies in Pakistan, and 20,000 IT graduates are coming out every day. Government in last 4 or 5 years have given 400,000 laptops free to the graduating business schools. So that's the background which is happening, and government has come up very, very strong support systems. Public sector it's amazing the changes happening. Recently, about a week back, all the police stations in Pakistan has been connected, and then in spite of different states and different provinces, they are connected. The land records have been digitized at a Pakistan level. And finally, our database as far as ID card system is concerned is going to be connected to the Federal Board of Revenue. So that's great happening. But the core is the youth bulge. We are 60% of our population is effectively youth, and these people are driving IT. These are people are entrepreneurial mindset, are setting up IT companies. They are freelancers, and that's what is making the difference. For HR, I'll come right away. We have done a great job as far as our functional side is concerned, and we have made a good transitions as far as recruitment is concerned, as far as within our functional areas are concerned. We do a great job. But where we miss out, and then we have not done, the HR managers, is basically the change management. They need and then to understand this is the IT revolution. And then by initiative and by digitizing the old functions, we will not bring the holistic change. We need, as an HR in Pakistan, need to understand analytics. And then we had a conference and we realized that we are not ready to do the analytics. And especially the HR side is absolutely not ready. So we need to provide that support. And third is upskilling. And what is the new skills are required? TNOD will not work the way it was working. It needs to think differently. And these are the areas where I think HR in Pakistan, and I'm not sure over what's over here, but it needs to think beyond just HR function and become much more like, absolutely what you said was right, business partners, but to do that, you have to think analytics.
Mr. Ahmed, can you explain to us, in Pakistan, any corporate, do they have a plan of digitalization, a plan linked to the strategic plan, something like that?
I think most organizations, when we talk of in the organized sector, absolutely this is happening. So Oracle or SAP and then the local ERP systems, they're very, very strong. And then they sit at the board. That's not at all an issue. Imagine the 40% of the economy of Pakistan is SME. And we need to think about those SMEs who are going to be the future, and that's the support we need to provide.
To your understanding, any new methods which they are adopting in order to attract, engage and retain?
Absolutely. This last couple of years,
away from the traditional mode of recruitment.
The whole management training program, recruitment, has moved into gamification. And then these are locally designed portals which have propped up, and the companies have come up, and they're competing. So people are thinking differently, whatever they are doing. Just the fact that this year, there were 3 or 4 similar future of work conferences, and people are talking about it.
Thank you, Mr. Anwar. Now we get on to the Bangladesh. Mr. Mashruf, your comments on the questions which we have stated.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you, Professor Ajanta Dharmashri and the IPM for hosting me a 3rd consecutive time in your conference. I'm very grateful. Whenever I come in Sri Lanka, I feel like my second home. So I really feel good. Coming to your very specific question of the 3 questions, I'm very glad to inform that this government, after taking over 4 years back, they have declared a digital Bangladesh. And this is not a simple declaration only. Soon after the declaration, this government has created a separated, dedicated ministry called ICT Ministry. And that is very, very vibrant ministry, and I'm very glad to report here, Bangladesh Society for Human Resource Management and ICT Ministry signed an agreement. And in our last conference, the person responsible for this ICT has made a presentation and clearly showed us where we can work together. So that is a very, very evident relationship between BSHRM and the ICT Ministry and Bangladesh. And the ICT Ministry has declared a framework, digital framework for the whole country. And that is applicable for everyone. And the first framework is the eradicate the poverty. And you know the Bangladesh is the motherland for the microcredit and all these small loans. And these loans are dealing with the very poor people. And all of them virtually taken into the digital process and the mobile apps. And because of this concerted effort, 2 months ago, the United Nations has declared Bangladesh from least developing country to the lower middle income country. So this is a great achievement for the digitalization of Bangladesh. And that's. The second thing is the education. All the primary schools of the country, high school, college, and university undertaken in the digital process. Students can register for all the public exams through the digital process from the mobile apps. They don't need to go and stand in the queue. It also covered the healthcare system. A lot of hospitals and even in the individual level doctors, they are giving the telemedicine services. Grameenphone, the largest mobile operator, they have introduced the telemedicine services. You don't need to go to the doctors. Sitting at your home, the Skype, you can get all these prescriptions and you can pay the doctor's fees. In terms of law enforcement situation, there's huge development like 999. You can call 999 for any law enforcement support and they will instantly come and support you. In terms of the land registration, it was a huge corrupted area and also the very lengthy process. Now that with the digitalization process, with the very quick time, you can have a registration and you can see and view all these registration details from. And this way, in fact, the government has created a platform for all the sectors. In fact, all the ministry, they do not have a choice but to digitalize their services. Yeah.
Mr. Bhaskar, if you take it to HR.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And then what it affected the HR. As you have already introduced myself, I am the Federation President, I am also the BSHM President. What I see that has translated into HR. First one is the recruitment and selection process. I'm coming to the non-government or private sector later on. Even in the government sector, the civil service recruitment and everything is digitalized. The candidate can apply through mobile apps and get their registration and the admit card sitting at home. In the private sector and the non-profit and profit sector, the same thing. The manual application process is almost disappeared. People can apply online, get their interview information and SMS and everything online. The whole performance management system become online. Many organizations, including my organization, the whole recruitment is paperless. The performance appraisal system is paperless. Whole performance planning, ongoing monitoring, supervision, performance appraisal, and final reward and recognition, everything is paperless and online. And that is being introduced in all the multinational and local big corporates. That has been done. The greatest things, the girls' education and the female education significantly increased in Bangladesh. Female has a triple role. They have a job, they have a family, they have also the children, and that's require a lot of flexibility. This digitalization given the opportunity of flexi working hours, even female can work from home in some organization. That is possible, and that is helping to give quality time to the children. And I tell you one thing, in my organization we have 51% female employees. And a lot of the achievement and recognition was brought by the female in my organization. And it was possible because of the flexi working hour time and virtual. And that has created the work-life balance. And most of the organizations nowadays are making all the decisions from data-driven. Because when you have a digital process, internet process, you have a more data, decision based on gut feeling and decision based on data has a big difference. And finally, this digitalization has given a new dimension of the training and development to the learning and development. And a lot of organizations, including my organization, has introduced the e-learning platform and e-learning system that is helping that the people working outside of the headquarters, outside of the district, can still participate in the online platform. So all these things has given us the opportunity as HR to rethink and revamp the HR function, and that is giving us a lot of opportunities. So from the government commitment to the digital framework, and from the HR function, and from the agreement between BSHRM and the ICT Ministry has created a new era for the digital human resource management. Thank you very much.
Let me invite. Sorry. Let me invite Mr. Naidu from Malaysia, but I would like you to focus onto the HR function, how in Malaysia the HR function has been changed or modified in order to facilitate the digitalization process. You can go to specific, the participants will appreciate because they are and can apply into their workplaces.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to stand. Thank you, friends, for listening. This morning, we heard the doctor from Japan sharing us on the AI. Actually, it sent shivers on my body because the way the AI is working is so impressive. Now, we all belong to the Asian Institute of Human Resource Management, but Japan is there. I hope you can join us and take us through so that one day we can reach where Japan is. Because we have 15 institutes, Japan is one of the institutes. So let's talk where Malaysia is. I will just tell you in 4 points where we are on digital transformation. First of all, our national policy. Our national policy is to go on cloud first. AI is last. Cloud first, where does it stand? It's just a beginning. So to do that, we begin with the public sector. So we have 4 main organizations in the country to spur this. We have an organization called MAGDAC, which drives Malaysia digital economy. Then we have the DFTC, Digital Free Trade Zone, to encourage investments there. And third, we have the edX. It's a company that trains on this and also provides solutions. Now, at this point, I would like to praise Sri Lanka because before I came, they told me e-visa is difficult in Sri Lanka. I and my friend got a e-visa, and he said, you better print the e-visa before you go in, otherwise they will ask for the document. But I'm glad, I just came to the counter, within 2 seconds, all cleared. Please give applause for yourself. Now, the second point is, we ask ourselves, our country, is Malaysia ready for digital transformation? Now, in the last 10 years, internet users have doubled to 21 million. Our population is only 31 million. So you can see heavy use of internet. 85% of the government services are online platform. So the elderly people, etc., they have no choice but to understand how it works. On global survey on digitalization, Malaysia ranks 24 among 63 countries. Of course, Japan is number 1, isn't it? So you have to take us there. Next, 4 years, we are going to create a KL Internet City to be set up to house 1,000 internet-linked companies. So all these figures show our people are ready to embrace digital transformation. But the sad thing is, 81.2% of the internet users do not use AI. They are downloading movies, games, and social media. Only 26% are on commercial usage. Our university produces more graduates in arts and social science than in technology, engineering, and technical subjects. Now, what is the future HR challenges going to be? According to research, 80% of the jobs are presently mid-skill. Our people are all in the middle skill. 54% of the jobs will be automated in the next 10 to 20 years. So these are the challenges in our country. But what is the HR challenges? There are budget limitations. You cannot move with the digitalization for small companies, especially SMEs. We have a shortage of digital workers. 3, further perception. People don't want to accept digital transformation. They are unsure what their destiny is going to be. Thank you very much.
In Malaysia, do you find with this diversified workforce, anything on the side of the reward management? Incentivize people and the salaries, the payment, because some are working from home.
everything there. But what we feel is that HR needs to move up the ladder. You have to integrate more with business. That's why we are talking about business management, business managers. So we have to have business manager. So when you talk about reward, we have everything. But the question is the outcome. The reward that we pay, are we paying to the right people? How do we know we are paying to the right people? This is where digital transformation has to take place.
Thank you, Mr. Naidu. Now over to our own President. Just focus on the responses to the question, and also Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri will announce about the details about the World Conference.
Thank you, Mr. Jayaratna. In fact, I also, just for energy change, I feel like standing. And first of all, when the brochure was printed, Mr. Musharraf was the Vice President of Asia Pacific Federation of Human Resource Management. He was recently appointed as the President. So shall we give him a big round of applause? And I have a good news to share with you. We were in Hong Kong last November. Imam represented Pakistan, all other people were here. And there was a bid for 2020 World Congress, the most prestigious HR Congress in the whole world. And it will be happening the week after in Chicago, USA. And the next country to be, in selecting the next country, there was a competitive bidding. Australia had a very impressive bidding with their event readiness and also being a previous host and with the tested and proven venue. And Philippines had a very impressive bidding with Manila as an established location for many global conferences. And Thailand came with a very impressive, very ingenious bidding promoting the tourism. And tiny Sri Lanka also put out bidding. And our simple theme was bring it to the humanly rich region that is South Asia. So all of them supported us, and 2020 World Congress will be in Colombo, Sri Lanka in June 2020. Thank you. Having said that, talking about digitalization in Sri Lanka, there was this initiative in 2003 with the creation of Information Communication Technology Agency, ICTA, which was amended, the act was amended in 2008, and it was the very beginning of the realization of the need to be electronically oriented. So there's an e-government initiative taken place from the creation of ICTA in 2003. And then we have multiple projects, multiple approaches, multiple avenues, and this government has a Ministry of Telecommunication and Digital Infrastructure. And that is the first time the word digital came into a ministerial portfolio. And there are media reports that we have a scientific cabinet, and I hope the digital word coming into the scientific cabinet would hopefully make it more goal-oriented in terms of the Vision 2025 they have just formulated to be an enriched country. So that is in line with Vision 2025, lots of initiatives are being made. So I would like to highlight one thing, SLASCOM, Sri Lanka Software and Service Companies, SLASCOM. So Sri Lanka Association of Software and Service Companies. They came with the very interesting theme, Island of Ingenuity. I like that theme because we are a nation where we have innovation embedded to us. We boast about 2,500 years old history, where our forefathers made giant tanks with a precise way of flood control, water control, and so on. So we have that innovation in our blood. So island of ingenuity is one way of interpreting the digitalization that is coming into the forefront. And we have e-government projects like, as our good friend Ari said, the e-visa system, the immigration department, the way they have, the way they are using computers. And now they talk about e-identity card. And there are lots of multiple digitalization initiatives. And if you dial 1919, that is the government info hotline, you can get any information about any government department or any government division. So there are initiatives being taken place. And there's e-Swabhimani award to recognize the new software developers in terms of ensuring that more and more people come into the software development. And we are moving into the AI direction. We have a nano technology park, and we introduce technology stream to our advanced level instead of the traditional bioscience and physical science, in addition to commerce and art. So now technology is coming into the forefront. But having said that, we see problems as well as prospects. And into the HR-related area, and I see a transition. We are moving into digitalization, small and significant, slow and significant way. We could have been much faster, but we still have that mindset which needs to be changed. We still use manual HR as well as digital HR. And as we saw in the debate last evening, it's still an option, not an imperative. So we use e-recruitment schemes. Social media platforms like LinkedIn has become a rich source of recruiting people. So e-recruitment is taking place to some extent. And e-learning, e-training, e-coaching, and electronically driven learning initiatives are being taken place. And if you walk around the service providers exhibition, you see so many software firms in terms of HRIS, HRMS are being displayed. And I know Zenid has gone overseas, being a Sri Lankan product. Microimage, being another Sri Lankan product, has also gone overseas. So there are initiatives in recruitment, training and development, even e-performance management through a proper human resource management system. I know lots of organizations have resorted to a fully fledged HRMS. So there are some initiatives taking place. But my personal view is that the progress is far from satisfactory. We could have done much faster, much better, in a more impactful manner. But the positive sign is that things are happening. So I hope I have done the justice, Mr. Jayaratne.
Yes. The question, what do you think about when you the digitalization? Are our corporates have planned approach to the digitalization?
Well, yes and no. If you take the government sector, we are still in the primitive level of human resource management. I am telling this with confidence because I am representing a government institution in my full-time job. So the status given to HR is still the administrative focus. So there, the digitalization with regard to HR is a long, long journey. But due respect, I mean, say, hats off to IT companies, apparel companies, and lots of private sector organizations where they are moving faster towards digitalizing HR because they have seen the global trends and they have embraced some of the global practices, and we see the best practices of global level are becoming next practices of Sri Lankan organizations. So private sector is leading the way as the engine of growth, but the government sector still lagging behind, in my view, overall HR initiatives.
Any comment about creating a digital culture? How much the culture will help the digitalization process?
Well, I think the digital culture is getting created now. In a population of 21 million, we have internet penetration of 30%. And with the 18% urbanization, with the urban population of 18%, 30% internet penetration, and Facebook has become like a commodity among rural and urban masses, both alike. And we have a number of mobile phones, 26.4 million, which is 126% of the local population. So we have more mobile phones than the population in the country. That's a good sign that we are becoming a digital culture. But I have some concerns. It should not be converted to a digital dinner where everyone is just texting or looking at the mobile phone, not looking at each other. So digitalization also has its limitations. It should not replace the human relations in terms of just becoming overly digital. So we need to embrace it, and there are e-channeling e-channeling mechanism. There's Doc 99. There are ways of connecting health related issues. So I think the digital culture is getting created.
As we have little time, because earlier this session was given 45 minutes, but I see it has been given 1 hour. So few questions I thought I will ask from Mr. Somesh. Now in India, what are the ways and means of motivating people in a digitalization environment?
So thank you, sir. Very good question. See, each and every forum generally I'm discussing may be applicable to the HR fraternity of India. It may be applicable to your country also, because I'm observing still today the HR professions are really struggle for existence. Because why I'm telling you, the time has come when the entire HR professional in India to implement their IT age, they should be converting themselves to struggle for existence, to struggle for supremacy. Because unless HR functions are leading in the driving seat, they are not leading the organization from the front, it is very difficult to implement IT applicable things in our organization. The reason is, when we are detaching ourselves from the business, when detaching ourselves from the strategy for the business, we are always struggle for the existence. As long as we are converting ourselves to struggle for supremacy, HR function cannot have do justice with the implementation of IT. IT growth, IT digitization is a news in India. People are knowing that India is very good in IT implementation. But organizational level, HR departments has a role, because people has an overall idea that IT will take my job. When you are projecting the future of work area or locations, people have an idea that what will be my existence at time. So the time has come, which is very important for today, how you can implement IT so that the heart and brain both should be intact in the organization. As Mr. Prajanta was just now telling, I fully agree with that. I have seen in this explosion of IT, we are becoming more and more global, but more and more lonely also. I've seen people, they are very comfortable to interact in the social media, interact in the WhatsApp group, interact in the other medium, but hesitant to talk to the people next sitting to him. And it's same the organization. In organizations, people are mailing each other for small issue which may not be required. There is some moment required where people can, management by walking, management by giving a feel-good factor. It is totally missing in India at least, because people are only for the fancy application for the big things. I said that ROI is very important, because we are importing a lot of gadgets, a lot of tools, and with the idea that if we implement that, we can reach to a success. But that is a half-hearted thing. Along with that, unless you recognize the main mover is the human being. I am utilizing a tool, but you cannot detach me with a particular tool. That is happening in India, I think happening in other countries also. People are more and more lonely, isolated, they are comfortable to work individualistic, and this approach affects our social life, this approach affects our official life also.
Thank you, Mr. Somesh. Just a quick question to Mr. Anwar. Would you think the digitalization will that make HR function more important or less important?
Strongly believe more important, because whatever they are doing right now will be digitized, and so that will be outsourced to the systems. But then what Sumesh was saying about the loneliness, so and the human connection will become much more important. Cognitive thinking, reskilling will become absolutely important. So to make that transition a success, HR will have to do something different than just managing the recruitment, rewards, and the traditional functions, because that will be automated, come what may.
I think you gave a good answer, Mr. Anwar, because most of the transactional work will be taken over by outsourcing agencies.
Absolutely.
But the most important you mentioned will be the cognitive process. The HR practitioner will have to focus on the cognitive process and guide the organization in that line.
Absolutely.
I think we have 15 minutes. I would give the opportunity for the participants to ask any questions from the panelists. Because this is an opportunity for you. Because some of these things which you've been told, you can just see through your workplace.
Cambridge Analytica And then I will only pick one thing, and then I missed responding to that. One of the key role in this transition when data is rampantly available to organization, the ethical dilemma, we are facing an ethical dilemma. And as HR, we are the owner of the culture, and the culture depends on ethical values. And this is something which we need to play a huge role in creating that, inculcate that need to be absolutely ethical. Otherwise, organizations will die because people will react as well. As a reaction, people will start to look at much more protective about the data, and then the legislations have started to come. So effectively, the whole digitalization process will be hampered. But the core role for us as an HR is to inculcate the ethical values among our organization, and sitting in the board, be the beacon of those values.
Can I add something to that? I think this is essentially the case, and when Somesh presented Dave Ulrich's 2004 model, my mind went back to the AFRAM meeting we had. Now he has come with the 2017 model, where he calls an HR professional a paradox navigator. So HR professional has to navigate a paradox. This paradox is on one side being ethical, on the other side being effective. It's not achieving results either by hook or by crook. You need to ensure that you have proper value system. You embrace the values. So where do we draw the line? This is my personal data. This is my professional information. So it's very, very thin line. And we see you are getting exposed. And if you do a Google search and they identify your patterns, now we talk about big data analytics. They can even check your patterns, your preferences, your choices, which movies you downloaded, which YouTube clippings you watched. And even there was a case of a father going to a pharmacy to buy some medicine. And then the pharmacist has searched the pattern and told that your daughter is buying some medicines which are given to the pregnant people. And the father got a big shock. And they have analyzed the patterns, the consumer habits, the behavior. So we are living in a connected world, so we are exposed. So where to draw the line between your privacy versus your public arena is a paradox. So the real challenge, Ms. Jayaratna, for the new age HR professionals is to have paradox navigation. So I see this paradox in Sri Lanka, where the technology and tradition harmony. Now, for example, here all of us are using notes, but sometimes in the Western world they might use iPads, and they would refer to iPads. They would use the mobile phone and refer to the mobile phone and talk. So this paradox of how much we are traditional versus how much we are tech savvy. Technology, tradition, harmony is one thing that we need to.
Mr. Master wants to add something.
I think Professor Ozunta has captured something. So I think there should be a fine line between the professional and personal data. And if this fine line is very clearly defined, then it is no problem. I think Cambridge has identified very rightly that if we capture the personal data and share it with others, then it is a big problem. Like, I don't think that organization has any problem of segregating those two, because in organization may need some my personal data, but that has to be maintained very strictly. And the professional data related to my competency, my skills, my education, that should not be any problem. But the issue is that, like whether I'm married or unmarried, whether my sexual preference and orientation, that should not have any relevance and any to other people. That is totally my personal. So if we can define that and accordingly maintain the data in our system, I don't see any problem.
Shall we go to another question from the...
What are the actions taken role of IP? So thank you very much for that question. I think I have my bounden duty to respond to that. I would say we can do far more than what we are doing currently. And IPM is reshaping itself in transforming from IPM to CIPM, Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. So with that change, with that massive transformation, we need to have the digitalize that. Can we put that question back, please? No, there was this question on the screen. So while answering, please keep that question. I think the latest one comes to the screen. Can you go back to the question that I was answering? Okay, so IPM can play a critical role. I would presume CIPM can even play a bigger role with the charter status coming into the scene. Because we need to upgrade ourselves, we need to be up to date. And in evaluating HR professionals to elevate them to charter status, one key area is their tech savviness. We would have assessment criteria. We are working with CIPD UK to develop a panel of assessors to give charter status to HR professionals. We are waiting for the new Act of Parliament to come out. So a 1959 Act of Parliament that created IPM will be replaced by the new Act of Parliament to make it CIPM. So it will happen in future.
Can you put another question?
Yes.
Yeah. Somesh to answer, Mr. Somesh.
See, when this type of question comes to me, immediately I remember one statement of Dr. Abdul Kalam Azad, our past president. In one of the meeting, like this forum, people asking him that India human resources is very rich. You are producing a lot of talents in India, and they are going outside. So we are calling technical term brain drain. So brain drain is happening in India. What is your response to the brain drain? Then the past president, Abdul Kalam, said, according to me, brain drain is much better than brain in drain. So when he was telling to that, it means that time he was very passionate. He was telling that, see, we know that in India we are producing potential people. They are very good in IT sector, very good in knowledge-based sectors, and they are going abroad. A huge level of people from the university and school going abroad, and our machinery is unable to retain them. So the problem is with the machinery, not the people. When I am a talented person, I always prefer a comfortable stay, comfortable lifestyle, comfortable decision-making process. If we cannot create all these things in a particular country, so these people will go. And the people who want to take the benefit of that, they will take the benefit. That's the reason brain drain started. But I am happy to say that last 4 or 5 years, a lot of new initiative has taken in India, basically the startup companies. The startup companies in a lot of smart cities like Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Gurgaon, these people, huge amount of startup business is initiated in India. People are coming back to India now. And overall, that Indian economy is also growing well. A lot of manufacturing setup is being initiated. It is recognized in the worldwide that India is a big market to sell their products. 99% multinational companies are coming to India for their marketing purpose. So the time is, and also second thing, people are realizing in terms of the comfort level, in terms of access to the technology, now we're in global village. People who are staying in Mumbai, Kolkata, or Bangalore, and people staying in Newark and New Jersey, technically they are same. Technically no problem, every day they're talking to each other, to the Skype and all. So the world is smaller and smaller. By this process, people are coming back to India, and effort is taken by the government also to create a lot of startup company, a lot of package for the NRI, a lot of package for the other promotions. I'm confident that people will go abroad for higher education, enrich this country, and also come back to their own country to do positive things.
And to add, with the digitalization, you don't need to come to India. They can serve from out.
Yes, they're doing it. They're doing it all.
In their own places, they can serve India. The time has come to conclude. I would just wrap up the session. I think we discussed many things which are relevant to the subject, the future of HR. And I am thankful to all the panelists for making a contribution in regard to the team. And what are the learning outcome of this session? I have jotted down few things. For the success of digital transformation, it is imperative to have a national policy framework. What has been stated is not that clear in regard to the national policy framework, but it is imperative to have a national framework for the corporate to perform. The people factor is the nucleus of the whole transformation. And HR has a critical role to play in facilitating the digital transformation. This should be taken into consideration by the people who are involved in the HR function. It is essential that HR to play the said critical role to meet the demands and challenges of the digital world. HR function needs to be changed and developed in order to facilitate the digitalization process. At this juncture, I would like to pose a question in order to take to the workplace what we discussed. How many corporates do have a plan for digitalization? Secondly, in your strategic plan or the corporate plan, under the HR function, do you have what HR should do in regard to the digitalization? This is a food for thought. All of you are involved in forward long-range planning, but do we have? Unless we have a planned approach, we will not achieve any success. Like the country should have a plan, the organization also should have a plan. In this situation, as HR practitioners, we have a professional responsibility by our organization and our nations. It is to plan and execute HR strategy. May call it a digital HR, to facilitate and sustain the digital transformation in the best interest of the stakeholders. There are many stakeholders in there, not only the HR managers, but the government organization, our customers, and the community at large. There lies the future of HR in the world of digitalization. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll endorse the fact that that proved to be a very educative panel discussion. And thank you very much, our eminent panelists, for your valuable input. Everybody, put your hands together and give them another round of applause. I would like to invite Mr. Sarat Jayasinghe and Mr. Priyanta Ranasinghe, Council Member of IPM Sri Lanka, on stage to give away tokens of appreciation to our panelists and the moderator. Please stay on. The President of NIPM India, Mr. Somesh Dasgupta. Also, Mr. Kanwar A. Zaid, Vice President of PSHRM Pakistan. Mr. Musharraf Hussain, President, BSHRM Bangladesh. Mr. Aresandiran Jagannatha Naidu, President, MHRM Malaysia. And of course, our very own Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri, President, IPM Sri Lanka. And our moderator, Management Consultant, Mr. Jayanta Jayaratna. Well, we also have to highlight the fact that always we have maintained very cordial and fruitful relationships with regional HR bodies, and are indeed pleased to recognize the presence of delegations from NIPM India, Bangladesh Society of Human Resource Management, Pakistan Society of Human Resource Management, and Malaysian Society of Human Resource Management at this year's conference. Well, we already have Professor Ajanta Dharmasiri, the President of IPM Sri Lanka, on stage, but can I also invite Mr. Priyankara Seneviratne, Chairman, NHRC 2018, on stage, and Mr. Dhammika Fernando, Co-Chair External Affairs, to also join us on stage. We move on to the exchange of mementos. First, the NIPM India to receive a memento from IPM Sri Lanka. reciprocating from NIPM India to IPM Sri Lanka as well. Now I would like to invite the representatives from the Bangladesh Society of Human Resource Management to present their memento. I'm sure we can have a round of applause, everybody. And they will reciprocate with their memento as well. Thank you very much, the Bangladesh Society of Human Resource Management. Can I now invite the representatives of the Malaysian Society of Human Resource Management to present their memento. And we move on to also present a token to the Pakistan Society of Human Resource Management. And they will also reciprocate with a memento. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Lovely to be working with you. Everybody, put your hands together for another round of applause. Well, a very special request to all you participants to visit all the stalls out there during the break. And we're now taking a break for tea. We'd appreciate if all of you could be back in 15 minutes. Thank you.